It's Muji or bored black girl. There's a stain on this. Ignore that. And you're watching Muji Watches, where I'm going to watch something and tell you guys a little bit about it. As you can see, I am dressed up in my Christmas attire because Christmas, I'm pretty sure, already passed. But I still have videos to post, so of course I'm going to be recording them and posting them for y'all. As promised, I'm here back again with Heartstopper Season 2. Now, I may have stayed up all night to write this script, so I just want you to bear with me, and hopefully this video won't be like 2 hours long, but I doubt it. Anyways, Heartstopper Season 2 came out on August 23rd, 2023 with 8 episodes. This season follows the Trum and Higgs school as they go on their Paris trip, as well as have their year 11 prom. Nick struggles with coming out while Charlie struggles with his eating disorder. Elle and Tao are exploring their feelings, and Isaac struggles to come to terms with his. Episode 1 out starts with Nick meeting Charlie in a school closet and telling him that he came out to his mom. And of course the two celebrate with a kiss, something that they do a lot. Though Nick has not come out to his rugby lad friends, he is hesitant and not speaking to them ever since what happened at the movie theater with Harry. Even though he's ignoring them, him and Imogen have actually stayed good friends, and I'm quite excited to watch her become a part of the friend group. Because of his GCSEs, Nick is spending all day studying in the studying hall, and to make matters worse, he is sat next to Ben. And being who he is, Ben of course starts talking to Nick. But on the bright side, outside of study hall, Charlie has actually decided that he wants to rejoin the rugby team. But on the dark side, with everything happening between Nick, Charlie, Harry, and the rest of the team, he isn't exactly acting like a real captain. But on the bright side, again, after practice, we find out that Nick and Charlie have actually been dating for 2 months, and Charlie gives him a 2-month present, being a nice little chocolate bar. Besides our main couple, with Tara and Darcy's advice, Elle is deciding that she's going to flirt with Tao and see if he has feelings for her back. And at Charlie's sleepover, we see the two get a little bit too close for comfort. And when Nick asks Tao about it, he becomes extremely defensive, telling him that it's nothing and that they're just friends, which, okay, calm down. Also at the party, Nick invites Imogen and takes a moment to come out to her. But he's actually beat to it because not only does Imogen know that he's with Charlie, because it's obvious, she assumes that he's gay, which of course he has to specify that he's bi. Now that Imogen knows about Nick's man, it's time for Nick to know a little bit about Imogen's man. And we find out that Imogen's crush is literally Ben Hope. Because of course it is. Because Ben cannot stay away from these people. It's not funny, but like, he actually can't. By the end of the episode, Charlie tells his parents that him and Nick are dating, which actually is not received very well. They actually, mostly his mom, ban Nick from sleepovers, and Tori goes upstairs and asks him, "You guys are telling people now?" And he says, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, are you sure that's like a really good idea considering, you know, you were bullied?" And he says that he's going to make sure that everything is okay and that Nick does not go through the same things that he went through. Are you sure about that, Charlie? Can you really ensure that? I don't think so. Either way, it's time for episode 2, which is titled Family. During this episode, we learn through the parent-teachers conference that Charlie's grades are slipping. He is distracted at school and not turning in some of his assignments. Unlike Charlie, though, Isaac's grades are actually quite well, but he needs to participate a bit more. On the car ride home, his parents, mostly his mom, decides that Nick is banned from seeing Charlie and vice versa until he turns in his missing coursework essay. And while Charlie is being grilled about his boyfriend from his parents, Nick is being grilled about having a girlfriend from his older brother, David. But while those two are struggling with their relationships and their families, Elle is instead struggling with her crush and her friendship, At lunch with the rest of the girls planning the year 11 prom, Tao is texting her and asking if she wants to hang out tonight, but unfortunately she can't because she is going to the Lambert Art School and she's gonna go take a tour. But before that, let's get back to Imogen and Ben. Unfortunately, while Nick is coming to school, he ends up seeing Imogen and Ben. Gross. And during study hall, Charlie makes an excuse to see Nick, telling him that he needs to give him a pen. This, of course, sets Ben off, and Ben decides to, of course, run his mouth, asking him if Charlie knows that he isn't ready to come out, and essentially saying that because Nick has yet to come out, that him and Ben are the same, which they're not. Trust. Now, because he could not study sitting next to Ben, Nick actually decides to go home and study instead. But when his brother picks up his phone and sees Charlie's name with 3 love hearts, David teases Nick about having a girlfriend, saying that if he has a girlfriend, David needs to meet her so he can approve of her. Who are you, David? Who cares? What anything you have to say, we don't care. At Lambert Art School, Elle is not wasting time and she is already making friends, having fun and posting it on her Instagram story, which Tao is watching and showing his mom. Adorable. And honestly, I love the connection that she has between Tao and Elle, and the way that she's so aware of Tao's feelings for Elle, whether it be, you know, friendship or more. It's definitely more. It's the day of the GCSE, and as if Nick doesn't have enough to worry about when it comes to testing, he decides to ask Imogen why exactly she's going out with Ben. But of course, he's unable to say what those bad things are because they are involving Charlie. She defends him, saying that she doesn't care about the past and that Ben is her oldest friend, compet, and that he's the only person, you know, she doesn't really have many friends right now, which is just, Imogen, you just, whatever, the show must go on. Nick takes his math GCSEs and actually struggles to focus. But once the test is over, Charlie decides that he's going to break his parents' rules and go over to Nick's house to visit him after the test and comfort him. But while Nick is downstairs getting the 2 a cup of tea, David comes into Nick's room and asks Charlie what's his name. Of course, he finds out that Charlie is Nick's boyfriend and decides to make a big thing about it, instantly becoming homophobic and saying that he wanted to meet the boy who turned his brother gay. And when Nick tries to clarify on his sexuality, even though it's none of his brother's business, David continues going on, saying that the least he could do is own up to being gay. The back and forth continues going downstairs until Nick's mom pulls David to the side, and yeah, awkward. Charlie says goodbye and leaves Nick's house. Things only get worse because when he comes home, he is actually caught by his parents and is grounded. Over text, Charlie tries to take the blame about what happened at Nick's house, but Nick does not allow it, saying that people will have mixed reactions to their coming out, regardless of who they are. Charlie is leaving Nick's house. Tao is coming to Elle's. And I think there's something so sweet about the way Elle's mom calls Tao that boy of yours when he shows up at the door. He comes inside and he asks her if she can hang out tonight, which is sweet, but unfortunately the answer is no, because Elle actually has plans with her friends from Lambert Art School. Okay, you know, Elle's putting herself out there, Felix and Naomi, and he suggests instead that they have an art day. But again, Elle declines, wanting to, you know, keep the distance between each other. Now, Tao's mom comes into Tao's room later and tells him a little bit about her relationship with his dad, describing it as perfect harmony when the 2 of them were together and how it reminds her of Tao and Elle, saying that he should stay and fight to be with her, even if he's scared of losing her. Tao finally accepts his feelings for Elle. Tao musters up the courage to go to the shop and tell his friends, because he immediately starts to overthink and worry on how he will essentially ruin their friendship. Either way, he needs his friends' help. And that's where we go into episode 3, promise. The boys are on the rugby field, and this time, instead of playing, they're actually apologizing. A few of them come up to Nick and invite him to the GCSE end of year party. I hope I'm saying GCSE end of year party, apologizing for Harry and his homophobic theater fiasco. Now, in the shed with Charlie, Nick complains and apologizes to him for not coming out yet, telling his boyfriend that he doesn't like being seen as Charlie's friend, but he's of course worried and scared. But as they always do, the two kiss in the shed, but this time they're caught by the rugby coach. Honestly, what did you expect? You guys kiss at school all the time. She invites Nick to her office to talk, and she is immediately protective of him and Charlie, saying that if anybody says anything to them that he should tell her, especially because she met her wife playing women's rugby in college. And I really like the end of the conversation. I think it's really cute when Nick is leaving her office. She is able to tease him on kissing Charlie in the shed, and she's able to turn away and laugh. And I think it's a really nice heart-to-heart that they're able to have, both being people who are in, gay relationships while playing a sport. The time is finally here. The GCSE testing is done, and it's time for everybody to sit and discuss going on the Paris trip. On the way there, Tara and Darcy kiss, and as they do, Tara says, "I love you." But the moment becomes very awkward as Darcy does not say it back. But it seems that after the meeting, Tao is a little more lucky than Tara is. He shows up with flowers in hand and a fresh new haircut, asking Elle if she will go on a date with him. And trust me, he's taken his time with this. At the beginning of the episode, we see him, Charlie, and Isaac all come together to plan Elle's perfect date for her. So after the meeting, he decides to execute it. And she says yes in front of all of their friends. Awkward, but hey, it did the job. Being the film lover he is, his idea of a perfect date is going to see a movie with Elle. More specifically, going to see her favorite movie, even though he hates it. When the movie is over, the two decide to join their friends at the end of year party, and it is in full swing. This is the perfect place for their date to end in a pile of smoke, same as the chairs and the GCSE papers, because Tao calls out Elle on hanging out with new people and acting differently. But of course, Elle claps back, saying that Tao has been trying to be a different person the entire date. And even though they both promised to put their friendship first, it seems that their romance and their growth as people has kind of gotten in the way of that. And unfortunately, Elle storms off, leaving Tao all alone. Oh, I can't blame her though, honestly. But those two aren't the only ones getting separated, because Nick and Charlie are both lost in the crowd at the party. And while Nick goes around searching for Charlie, he comes across Tori. And this is a little bit awkward because he has promised her that he would look after Charlie. For him to do so, she knows firsthand that looking after / taking care of Charlie can take a toll on somebody. And I think seeing the expression on Nick's face really worried her, because she can start to see it take a toll on him as Charlie's boyfriend. But while she's worrying about him, Nick is worried about coming out to his rugby friends, because as he's thinking of doing so, his head starts to fill with many biphobic things that people will say to him, telling him that he needs to choose a side and that he will cheat on Charlie because he's bisexual. It all becomes too much for him, and Charlie decides that it is time to take Nick home. And in his room, Nick and Charlie talk. In his room, Nick tries again to tell Charlie that he promises to come out. But being the good boyfriend he is, Charlie tells him that he does not really have to come out. That simply because he isn't straight doesn't mean he owes everybody the information of knowing his sexuality. Episode 4 is here, challenge, and it is time for us to go on our Truum and Higgs trip. Everyone is piled into the bus and tensions are high with Elle and Tao. And with Nick not coming out yet, him and Charlie have to stay a secret in Paris. While on the bus ride, Isaac takes a moment to ask Charlie what it was like when he first started having feelings for Nick. But it doesn't seem like Charlie can really relate. When it comes to talking about prom or being a couple in Paris, Darcy is all ears. But when Tara talks about saying I love you, all of a sudden she changes the conversation. focusing on prom outfits instead. When they reach the hotel, Tao offers Elle to take her bags upstairs, but she declines, deciding that she wants to be an independent woman. Instead, he takes up Charlie's bags, which I honestly really like because it shows that Tao is a genuine friend and he's not doing it simply because he likes Elle. The boys get upstairs and find their room. And unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, Charlie and Nick will not be sharing a bed, with Charlie taking the window bed with Isaac and Tao and Nick having the other bed. With Isaac's friend James tagging on with the rest of the group, they decide that it's time to explore Paris. But Elle and Tao decide that they are going to separate from the group and explore an art museum all on their own. And it's clear that they're getting to their old selves, with Tao dropping off some apple juice for Elle at breakfast. At the museum, the two talk and decide that their friendship is what matters most, and it's far too important for romance. But Tao admits that he is worried about being left behind, especially with Elle's new friends and her new school. Outside of our usual pairing of Tao and Elle, we get to see a different pairing of Tara and Charlie. They have their own time together to talk, which I think is really cute, asking each other about their relationships and honestly admitting their jealousy to each other. Charlie is jealous of how out Tara and Darcy are. She says that it took her focusing more on being with Darcy than other people's thoughts, period. But she also admits that she is jealous of how Nick and Charlie can talk about their feelings, saying that Darcy turns serious situations into jokes or just does not want to talk about them at all. But these two aren't the only ones having relationship trouble. After being stuck all day with annoying Ben, Imogen decides to ditch him. He doesn't even want to write their hearts on lockets and tie it. This is Paris. Like, what do you think was gonna happen when you come to Paris in a relationship? She ditches him and decides to join Nick's group, complaining to them that now that they're together, all he wants to do is ignore her, saying that she'd rather live with honesty than to live in regret. And at dinner, Imogen becomes very honest. Now, with the seating arrangement, Charlie ends up sitting next to Ben, and Ben ends up sitting across from his girlfriend. She goes off on him, calling out his obsession with Charlie and breaking up with him right at the table. But Ben takes it one step further, calling Imogen a bitch and honestly shocking everybody. Even Harry has to step in and say, "You didn't have to say that." But of course, being the a-hole he is, Ben just decides to storm off, with Imogen doing the same as she runs to the bathroom. Of course, Nick and Charlie come into the bathrooms to comfort her and give her a group hug. And honestly, I love the fact that she has them for support. It's interesting to see how even though Ben is in a straight relationship, he is still struggling with his identity and is still a bad person overall and is still hurting other people, not only Charlie, but Imogen as well. When dinner is over, everybody is in their room and Nick asks Tao how things went with Elle today at the art museum. And Tao does what he often does, and he talks down on himself, saying that Elle is so interesting that he has no idea how she would be interested in him. But Nick actually disagrees, saying that he really likes Tao, finding him not only interesting, but funny, and an extremely caring friend who can care for his friends freely without caring what other people think. Truthfully, I've noticed and loved that a lot about Tao in season 2, being able to see him be more of a true friend, along with seeing how the friendship group comes together. I really hope that we get to see more Isaac, Imogen. Episode 5 is here and it is titled Heart. Now, is here. Nick's dad isn't, and a hickey is on Charlie's neck. Now, though his dad has been reading his messages, his dad has yet to respond. And when Nick is called into the bathroom, he finds out what happens when you get a little bit too close to your boyfriend while in Paris. And Tao also finds out when he sees the hickey on Charlie's neck. At breakfast, a few people are noticing Charlie's hickey, Ben being one of them, and Harry even goes to the point of calling it out, which is crazy in my opinion. But while the two talk and have breakfast, Nick notices that Charlie isn't having anything, so he decides to pack him a croissant for later. On the bus, though, people become a lot more vocal about what they have to say when it comes to Charlie and his hickey, questioning if Charlie got his hickey from James, who is the only out guy. And honestly, I feel really bad for James because not only are there rumors flying around, but he wants to be a part of Isaac's friend group, and he is completely uncomfortable. Him and Charlie, and to a certain extent, I'm sure Nick, are all uncomfortable by the people's assumptions and comments. Off the bus, things are only made worse because the teachers managed to give the worst pairings ever. Not only is Charlie paired up with James, but Nick is paired up with Ben, and Isaac is paired up with Isaac is paired up with Harry. On the bright side, though, the lesbians do get together, which means that Tara and Darcy are paired together. This should be a good thing, but it isn't. Because when Tara tries again to speak about Darcy and the I love you, she completely changes the subject, telling her that she doesn't even remember saying it, leaving Tara even more confused. On the other side of things, Isaac is clearing things up with Charlie, making sure that it's known that he does not like him, complaining to him that people think the hickey is from him. But he's smart because he slyly asks if the hickey is from Isaac, which it isn't. And as he's been doing a lot this season, Ben runs his mouth. He starts talking to Charlie and asks him if he has told Imogen about, Charlie and him, and essentially insinuates that Nick is trying to ruin his life, which I think is insane. Nick, of course, fires back and says that Ben is literally using both Imogen and Charlie, Imogen popularity points, and literally Charlie for control. But Ben continues to talk on and on, saying that, you know what? He might even want Charlie back, which is crazy. And he essentially tries to shame Nick for giving Charlie a hickey. But while Ben is being his aggravating self, Harry is actually doing the opposite. Up on the Eiffel Tower, when people are making comments about the hickey on Charlie's neck and, saying that Nick gave it to him, Harry actually defends them, which leaves us all confused. Even more confusing is when you miss your parents' call and you call them back immediately and they don't pick up, which is exactly what Nick's dad does to him. But with or without his dad, the pair's trip must continue, and this time the group is taking their time and looking over the bridge of Lockets. This is where Tao and Charlie talk a little bit more about his feelings for Elle, and Tao admits to Charlie that he is worried that he will mess everything up with Elle the way he already messes everything else up. Charlie, trying to be a good friend and, comforting him, he says, give me an example. Oh boy, does he. Tao essentially tells Charlie that it is his fault for Charlie being outed, saying how he was talking to Isaac about it and they were overheard, and that's how it got around the school. Of course, Charlie disagrees and tells him that it wasn't his fault, as it was obviously an accident. And the two reminisce on when Charlie and Tao first met, and I think it's so cute seeing shy Charlie and seeing friendly Tao. They look so cute, and it's so nice because instead of using his little locket of love for Nick and Charlie instead uses it for him and Tao and their friendship, which I just love. Now the friend group continues, and this time they move to an art museum. And though Nick doesn't necessarily understand the art, he can still love and appreciate it. This is something that Elle relates to heavily, because though she does not exactly understand her feelings for Tao, she knows that they're there. So being bold and deciding to take the initiative, she grabs Tao's arm and runs through the mall together. Just absolutely amazing. And when the two are finally alone, she actually kisses Tao. Frightened that she has just completely ruined their friendship, she jumps up and is quick to walk away, but Tao is right behind her, kissing her. Oh, that's how you get the boy, Elle. Period. On the other side of the museum, though, things are not going very well. Tara and Darcy are taking pictures, and when Darcy gets a text from her mom, she is quick to snatch the phone back from Tara, which naturally makes her suspicious and question Darcy on a few things about the relationship, how she's never met her parents, and how she avoids issues, and how she doesn't say I love you back. But Darcy says that she didn't know that Tara meant it in that way, even though we all know Tara meant it in that way. And the same way that this conversation between the two is a little bit too hard to ignore anymore is the same way it's gotten too hard to ignore as, viewers and characters, Charlie's eating disorder. Because in the museum, Charlie, who has already been feeling disoriented, collapses in Nick's arm, with Isaac and Imogen running off to go get the teachers. Now, of course, after some time, Charlie has recovered, and Nick takes the time to talk to him about his eating, noticing that although he's always been someone who has eaten less or not really eaten a lot, it has recently gotten a lot worse. Noticing that Charlie has not been eating breakfast, not been eating dinner, and not accepting food when Nick offers to buy it for him. And Charlie admits that though he's fine most days, there are days where he feels he needs to control his eating, something that is linked back to when he was bullied in school. With how bad things had gotten, he felt like his eating was the only thing that he could control in those dark times. It takes a lot to be honest like that, especially with your partner, especially not at home. Shout out to Charlie, honestly. But let's continue on with episode 6, Truth or Dare. After finally making time for his son, it's time for Nick's dad to meet Nick and Charlie. He does, and the three talk for a little bit, only for his dad to get a phone call and walk away. By the time he returns, Nick's dad essentially tells him that, hey kid, I've got to go, but you know what, I'm coming over next week for dinner, so look out for that. It's just so sad to me, especially because Nick has already talked to Charlie in the last episode about how his dad is unreliable and does not really have an interest in knowing / seeing him. But of course, Nick still wants him to meet him because he wants to come out to his dad. After everything that happened in the museum between Tao and Elle, Tao tells the boys that they kissed in the museum and everybody is ecstatic. In the girls' room, Elle is doing the same, telling Tara, Darcy, and Sahara. And, Charlie decides that he's going to hit the girls up on Instagram. That way, Elle and Tao can have a little bit more time together, disguising it as exploring the hotel. And when Elle and Tao meet up, trust me, they're spending the time together. They ain't talking, straight to kissing. And although Charlie and Nick try this as well, they end up getting caught by their teachers. But it's a new day, and this day is even better because it's actually Tara's birthday, which I'm surprised by. I had no idea it was coming up. And Darcy apologizes for not being the best girlfriend and promises that she will make it up to Tara, which she does by throwing her a hotel surprise party. But Tara does not stay very happy for long because Darcy whips out the alcohol, and this doesn't exactly seem like something Tara's super on board with. Not being really interested in partying or being surrounded by couples kissing, Isaac decides to go outside, with James following him. Although I think it is weird that James admitting to having a past crush on Charlie, I think it was even weirder that he used it as a segue into telling Isaac about his crush on him. And the two kiss in the hallway, which Isaac is unmoved by. He doesn't like it. He gets up and leaves, just to return to the party, feeling more lost and alone. But speaking of feeling alone, for some reason, Harry and his rugby lad friends are feeling a little bit left out when it comes to Tara's party. They come to her hotel and ask to come in, bringing up how, Harry technically invited Tara to his birthday party, but it's very much different. She says no, and he tries again, this time taking a second out to apologize to Nick and Charlie for his past homophobic comments, which doesn't work. And Charlie closes the door on him. Period. Now, besides them being homophobic to, Nick and Charlie, I think another reason that they were not allowed in is because they're just mean boys. And my assumption is that obviously not everyone in Nick and Charlie's party is, you know, LGBTQ, but my assumption is they either dislike Harry to some degree or have been made fun of by him and his friends. So you win some, you lose some. You are not coming in our party, Harry. No homophobes allowed. No homophobes allowed, I said it. And the party must go on, as now it's time to play Truth or Dare with Spin the Bottle. And honestly, I feel really bad for Charlie when this happens, because when it's his turn, he spins the bottle and he's there to kiss James because of the hickey rumors. He says no, and the next person he's there to kiss is Ben. He says no, but of course Ben has to make a big drama out of it, saying that he's tired and the game is stupid and that he wants to go home. We get it. But Charlie decides he wants to do something different, and he decides if he can do a truth instead. Naturally, everyone asks him the truth about who gave him the hickey, and Nick takes the opportunity to come out to everyone at the party, saying that it was him who gave Charlie the hickey. And when everyone asks if they want it to be kept a secret, Nick and Charlie say no, saying that they are ready for people to know. And honestly, aww, they're so cute that it makes me want to puke. And apparently I'm not the only one, because Darcy is feeling it too. They run off to the teachers for a little bit of help because Darcy's definitely drinking a little bit too much, and she ends up throwing up on one of the teachers' beds. Yeah. And in the bathroom, while recovering from her drunken illness, Tara is comforting Darcy, and Darcy tells her that she does love her and she does mean it. Even though she is drunk, she still sincerely means it. Back at the hotel, it seems that for the night, Tao and Elle will be sharing the bed, while Sahara and Imogen are fast asleep doing the same. Episode 7 is here. It is the second to last episode, and it is titled Sorry. Everyone is back from Paris, and we see Tara and Darcy having a sleepover and kissing, which I think is crazy to be having a sleepover with your partner in high school. But either way, it's time for her to go, and as we see Darcy going on her way home, it's immediate that this is not a good situation. Although we don't learn anything about it in the moment, we see that Darcy's hesitant to come inside and that there are loads of dark clouds around her home. But they aren't the only ones indulging in their relationship. Charlie is taking a moment to appreciate all of the pictures that Nick has posted of him on Instagram. And while he's doing so, his ex-situationship Ben decides to slide in his DMs asking to talk. Ignoring Ben's message, Charlie does respond to Nick's message of having him and his family over for dinner. Although David disagrees and asks how come he can't invite anyone. And his mom says, when you have a girlfriend, you can invite her. I don't know what you're complaining for. You just seem jealous, David. Jealousy. And again, Ben texts Charlie telling him that he knows he's reading these messages and they need to talk, but Charlie ignores it again. But Nick isn't the only one who's sharing good news on Instagram. Elle has been accepted into Lambert Art School, and though she isn't ready to tell everyone, lying to Tal about not knowing if she got in, she does post on Instagram telling everyone to come support her and see her art at the Lambert Art School exhibit, which I'm so excited for. Everyone, of course, celebrates her, and celebrations don't end there because Tao tells his mom about him and Elle, saying that the two are going out, and she congratulates him, jumping into his arms and giving him a big hug, calling Elle the most perfect special girl for her perfect boy, and how she plans on calling up a few relatives to tell them, and honestly, she's iconic for that. Everyone is out shopping for outfits to wear to Elle's exhibit, and Isaac actually takes the moment to step away and go talk to James, with everyone assuming that the two are going to, kiss. And honestly, it's very awkward, the conversation that they two have, but I feel like the situation, more so than the conversation, is a bit more heartbreaking. Isaac admits to James that he does not feel the same way for him, and that even though, he reads books on love and he is basically surrounded by love with his friends, he does not know exactly how he's supposed to feel when he is in love or when he does like someone. James, of course, tries to look for the brighter side, telling Isaac that, you know what, maybe he just hasn't found the right person yet. I feel bad for both James and Isaac during this, because it's clear that James does like Isaac and the friend group as a whole, and he would honestly be a really good fit. And even though Isaac does not like him romantically, it's clear that Isaac does like him as a friend. And I think with all of his friends being in relationships, him and James would kind of be like the perfect couple to come into the friend group. It would be amazing for all of the friends to be dating and for all of them to go on dates how they did in season 1 with the milkshakes. But truth is, that's the opposite of the situation. And it's not that Isaac doesn't like James, it's simply that Isaac is unsure how he's supposed to feel if he were to like James. And it honestly makes it more frustrating when he comes back and all his friends can ask about is, oh yeah, something happened. Did you guys kiss? Automatically assuming that something has happened. And I hate to say it, but I kind of liked how Isaac clapped back at them and was like, why does everything have to be about dating with you people? And although they are definitely worried and he does have some discovering to do, I can't blame him for being annoyed, because imagine being in Paris and all of your friends are dating. No, that would drive me crazy. Being in Paris is one thing, you know, it's one thing if it's just Nick and Charlie, you know, maybe it's one thing if it's just Tara and Darcy, but we have Elle and Tao on top of that also struggling with their relationship, unsure if they want to be friends or if they want to be together, and it's just a little bit like, oof. If I was Isaac, I would have been sick of it too. On the bright side, while out shopping, Darcy manages to find an amazing suit for herself that she really loves. And I love how everyone pitches in to make sure that she can be able to afford it. I think it's really beautiful. They all show up to support Elle at Lambert Art School, and she looks gorgeous, of course. Honestly, Elle's dresses this season, absolutely devoured. But her and Tao actually end up kissing in front of everybody. Okay. Now, inside, somebody comes up to Elle, hugging and congratulating her on her art, as well as getting into art school. And the big secret is out. Although Tara is the only one who knows, I believe, everyone else finds out and congratulates Elle about getting into Lambert Art School, but it's obvious that Tao is masking his feelings. Now, before Elle reveals her artwork, she says a few words and says that she wanted to draw something that was a happy place for her and that helped her through her dark times and a lot of the change that has been happening for her in the past few years. When she reveals the picture, it's so cute. It's a picture of her, Isaac, Charlie, all together at school in the art room, and it's so beautiful to me, and they all pull her into a group hug, and it's so beautiful. Later on, she apologizes to Tao for not, telling him, and honestly, he disagrees. He tells her that she should not base her actions or opinions on what he's feeling, and that no matter what, Tao will love her no matter where she is, because he loves her for her. Taking a look at a few other pieces, Isaac stumbles across something that he really relates to. The artist explains that the piece is about being asexual and aromantic in a world that prizes sex and romance above all. How confusing and difficult it can be to feel wrong, and how freeing it can be to finally have a label to put on yourself. Although you may not need a label, it's nice to have one at times. Speaking of freeing yourself, we find Ben the stalker has decided to follow the group to the art school and is waiting outside for Charlie and Nick. He claims that he wants to apologize properly to Charlie because he won't be coming back to Chulm for 6th form. He admits that he messed up and he really liked Charlie, but his parents will never accept who he is. And he just wanted something good, and Charlie was good. But Charlie snaps him back into reality and tells him that, remember the first time we kissed? Remember the first time we kissed? And how you kissed me without asking me if I wanted to kiss you first? And how I went along with it because I liked you? Yeah. Do you remember that? Not only did Ben have control over him, but Ben made him feel like he deserved it. He continues to clock Ben for wanting forgiveness and doing it in such an ambushing way, saying that he does not have to accept his apology simply because Ben wants to be a better person or feel better for himself. Charlie and Nick walk away, and although I know the situation is serious, there's something so funny about seeing Ben walk away from the rainbow. that's pouring out of Lambert Art School. The truth is, Ben feels like he has no control over his life, so he controls other people. He controlled Charlie and he controlled Imogen, trying to make himself feel better, but he only ended up making them feel worse. Sorry. Where was I? Alright, now we are back at Nick's house with Charlie. His dad and his brother are there watching football while his mom is cooking dinner for everyone. Nick tells his mom that he plans to come out to his dad and, tell him that Charlie's his boyfriend. And although Nick's mom is supportive, she does tell him that he does not need to tell his dad. And, Nick says that it isn't for his dad, that it's instead for him. When dinner does come around, David decides instead of being a supportive older brother, he's going to be the dick that he is, and tries to antagonize Nick by bringing up the fact that, hey dad, do you know how Nick and Charlie met? He of course doesn't. So Nick tells him anyways, saying that him and Charlie met at school playing rugby together. His dad reminisces on his young rugby days and tells him that it's a great sport that women like, and asks it too if they have girlfriends. They look like they have girlfriends. As David continues to blatantly antagonize him, Tori decides to call out his behavior, and Nick cuts the bullshit and goes straight to the point, coming out to his dad, telling his dad that Charlie is his boyfriend, and next he focuses his attention on David, telling David that his bullying no longer works on him and that he doesn't really care what his dad nor David thinks, and he's happy with who he is. He leaves the dinner table and goes outside to get a bit of fresh air. And of course, as he's gone, David continues talking shit, saying that Nick has always been the drama and that the dad agrees. But his dad doesn't agree, actually. His dad gets upset at David, telling David that he isn't the man he thought he would be. But his mom points out, how do you expect somebody to be something when you don't even know them? And says that Nick's dad was not even there for the kids growing up, so how are you supposed to know them? Following in her son's footsteps, she comes outside and gives Nick a hug, and Nick sincerely asks her why his dad just doesn't care. And as like many mothers in, Nick's mom's position, she just admits that she doesn't know. She doesn't understand it, and she sees it as a really sad way to live. And it's even sadder because the next scene is literally his dad leaving. Sorry, it's not funny. He apologizes to Nick and tells him that he wants to be a better dad, claiming to be sorry, and Nick tells him that if he really wants to be better, he needs to act like it, not just say it. David sees that his dad is leaving, and, his dad tells him that, I'll come over and visit sometime, but he doesn't even know where his son lives. And I think that this is kind of what makes it clear that it's not really a David and his dad versus a Nick and his mom type thing. It is instead just their dad being neglectful and not really caring about them, on top of David just being a bad person. Nick's dad does a last-ditch effort to connect with him, and he calls Charlie a very nice man. No one cares what you think, TBH. Now coming out of the bathroom, Tori is overhearing David talk smack on the phone, and she does what honestly they should have done in the beginning. She kicks his phone down the stairs and tells him that if he ever hears him talking bad about Charlie, that she will end him. Mind you, he was calling Charlie and his own brother a drama queen and dramatic. Anyways, after all of the drama at dinner, it seems that Nick and Charlie's families are actually a little bit closer now. Nick's mom, Sarah, admits that it takes a lot for Nick to step up to his dad, and it seems that Charlie's mom kind of is worried that she's misjudged them a little bit. No longer caring what his dad or his brother thinks, Nick decides to focus on Charlie instead, noticing how he did not eat much, if at all, during the dinner, and he decides that it's time to take a little bit of time to educate himself on eating disorders. And for the first time, we get a little bit of a glimpse into Darcy's home life, and unfortunately what we see is not very good. We see Darcy trying on her suit and kind of, getting ready for prom a little bit. It's not the day of prom, but she's just trying her suit on, and her mom comes in. Immediately, an argument ensues because her mom does not approve of the outfit, and it escalates to the point of her kicking Darcy out for the night. Now, while the conversation is happening, the music and the darkness is drowning out the conversation. And I think that's how it happens for a lot of young people who don't really have the best kind of household. Although you may not remember exactly what was said or, what actions were done, I'm sure you will remember the fact that your family was unsupportive and just did not care to support, did not even care to think where Darcy was going to spend the night. Episode 8 is here, and it is titled Perfect. It is our last episode, and fun episode, and Nick decides that it's time for him to come out on his private Instagram, posting a picture of him and Charlie and captioning it boyfriends. And as he's done like this entire season, he has to specify that actually I'm bi, which I get it. Like every single time someone says, "Oh, you're gay," no, I'm bi. It's a little overdone. But the comments are a mix of people, some being supportive, some being kind of joking, and mostly asking if the two will be coming to prom together. And of course, Nick decides to ask Charlie to prom. The two are a little bit worried about getting mobbed, but they say that it does not matter. Charlie tells Nick that he is absolutely perfect and everything is fine. He's the happiest he's ever been. But Nick really questions if that's true, because he knows that secretly Charlie is still struggling with his eating. It's the day of the prom, and Tao decides to pop the big question on Al, asking her if she will be his girlfriend. And of course, she says yes. The two kiss, and back at the school, Tara is starting to set up for prom. But this time, her girlfriend is nowhere to be found, not even replying to Tara's many messages. So with everything being a mess, she decides to call up the gay gang, and it's time for us to put a little pizzazz into this prom. Two newest couple are seen having a lovely paint montage, and while Charlie and Nick are decorating, two people decide to come up to them and ask them if they're dating, which is crazy. And then soon, they say they didn't know Nick was gay, and of course Nick has to specify that he's bi, like, okay. Anyways, now while taking a break from decorating things, Nick and Tao talk. Tao assuming that Charlie is happy that Nick has come out on Instagram, but honestly, Nick is unsure. He worries that Charlie still carries a lot of the pain and hurt from the past with him. And this is something that Tao can relate to, because he still carries the pain of his dad with him, saying that his father's death has caused him to really fear losing the people in his life. And it's honestly a super sweet moment between the two, and it's only made more bittersweet when Nick asks Tao if Charlie ever spoke to him about the bullying. And Tao tells him that he didn't. And honestly, which is shocking to me and Nick. But regardless of how tragic that information is, the show must go on, and the two are ready up for prom. And I honestly love their prom suits, because I do feel like Charlie is more of a blue while Nick is more of a gray. Throughout all of this, there has been one person missing, and that person is Darcy. And when we find her, she is stranded on a park with only 2 bags, both of them being small. And even though Tara is still sending her messages, she isn't receiving them. My throat was so dry. And when everyone arrives at prom, they're looking for her, and Tara is quick to lie and say that Darcy's running late, let's just go inside. But inside, everyone seems to be having a lot of fun. We have Elle, Isaac, Charlie, and Tao are core for taking some pictures at prom before splitting up. Isaac hits the library while Tao and Elle hit the dance floor, both using the opportunity to be honest at prom. Now, while Isaac is stepping away from romance and relationships, Tao and Elle are doing the opposite, with her coming clean about wanting to go to Lambert, and Tao admitting that he knows. But honesty seems to be a large theme at prom, with some of the rugby boys coming up to Nick and starting a conversation, as well as apologizing for making him feel weird or uncomfortable about coming out to them, with them even making a joke that he's the first to get in a relationship. They miss him, and the truth is, he misses them as well. Following in their footsteps, a distressed Tara admits to the Ginger that he doesn't think Darcy will come. And although she knows something is wrong, Darcy does not want to talk about it. And since this is something that Nick is actively going through with Charlie, the two can hug and find comfort in each other. I'm sorry, I love them so much. I have a sweet spot for Tara and Nick. Oh my gosh. Now, taking a seat together, our boyfriends wonder if they're really interested in dancing in front of everyone and honestly just consider going home, saying that people are obsessed with the idea of coming out when, again, it's not for them. It's for us. Nick and Charlie don't need to flaunt their relationship around at prom like some big rainbow trophy. They need to do whatever they want. But while the boys are planning on leaving, Darcy is just arriving and she's catching everyone by surprise. Not only her appearance, but her tardiness. Clearly, something is wrong. And although she looks for Tara, her girlfriend is nowhere to be seen because Tara has left and is now looking for Darcy. Now, we see Tara at Darcy's house, introducing herself as a friend, and we see her mom have a not so motherly response when Tara asks her where Darcy is and if she is okay. Darcy's mom paints the fight last night as a tantrum over the suit, and it basically ignores the fact that she has no idea where her daughter slept and hasn't contacted her daughter all night after the fight. And to twist the knife, Darcy's mom tells Tara that the fight was about Darcy's suit and how she looked like a lesbian. Unknowingly, of course, saying this to her lesbian daughter's girlfriend. It's honestly really sad. At Nick's house, the two girlfriends reunite, and of course, everyone has to be pulled into a group hug. We did a lot of group hugs this season. Yeah. But Tara and Darcy actually take a moment to have a serious conversation about where Darcy slept and why she hasn't been responding all day. And since she slept in the park, she, of course, didn't have her phone because it died. And being her girlfriend, Tara asks Darcy why she doesn't want to talk about things like this and why she doesn't want her to know. And the truth is, Tara is not as comfortable being a lesbian as she may seem, especially with her household. Like many young people, there are two sides to her. Or more so, there is her true self and her more suppressed self, who she is forced to be at home, where she's not out and honestly maybe will never be. And it's where her mom makes her feel like she hates herself. And that's why Darcy has been dodging those 3 special words, because she doesn't feel like this confident out person that Tara loves. And what if she doesn't love the real her? And this kind of makes me a bit sad, especially when we think about the Paris trip, because we have to think about how excited Darcy was to be in Paris with Tara and be able to be out without her parents' judgment and to have all of her friends there. And it's her girlfriend's birthday. And it's just so sad because I think about all of the drinking that she did. It just really makes me sad. It must have been really sad having to spend the last of your days in Paris trying to celebrate, your girlfriend's birthday, knowing that when you get home, you're going to have to come back to that situation. But the two make up and kiss. Mind you, in Nick's house, with Taylor Swift playing in the background. Yeah, perfect. The group has a little bit of an after party, but once it's over, everybody leaves, and Nick takes the opportunity to get a little bit serious with Charlie and sits him down to ask him about the bullying he went through. Charlie shrugs it off, saying that everything is fine now. Knowing everything isn't fine, Nick questions him on if it really is. And Charlie admits that when he first came out, he was surprised by how homophobic people were. People would come up to him and call him disgusting right to his face. He was under the impression that things were better nowadays, and when people would do things like that, it took him a long time to realize that their words weren't true because he believed them. Because of how long it went on, Charlie started to believe those things that people said, and it made him hate himself to the point where he used self-harm to cope. Nick comforts Charlie with a hug and asks him if it's something that he still does. And Charlie tells him that he doesn't do it anymore. And he does not want to tell Nick because he worries that he will be seen as annoying or a burden or something that Nick needs to fix. And that's the last thing that he wants to do. But Nick disagrees, saying that it's the opposite, that Charlie has helped him do so many amazing, brave things, that he would not have been able to do without his support. And he wants to do the same for him because that's his boyfriend. The episode ends with a final message of Charlie almost texting Nick those 3 magic words, and that is the end of Heartstopper season 2. This season was a lot. Well, honestly, I really like this season and I would definitely watch it again. I think it's super interesting when we have genuinely interesting relationships going on and we aren't just focused on like, you know, one main relationship. But now that I have watched Heartstopper season 2 twice thoroughly now, I can say that it was a step up from the first season, and I honestly loved being able to see Tao and Elle's relationship grow, as well as being able to see how much of a true friend and boyfriend Tao is. Because the first season, I think I could somewhat see, you know, him just being like a generic good friend. But I think in the second season, I really got to see Tao be more kind and be more of a friend. And I also loved seeing Elle go to art school, and I absolutely loved all of her gowns and her outfits. Seeing her take the initiative when it came to Tao was honestly really refreshing, and I loved how we got to see their genuine romance and their genuine friendship. And it was interesting to see how, you know, having unresolved feelings does disturb the relationship, regardless of, you know, how good of friends that you guys are. And I think Tao wanting to give her the perfect date was honestly so nice. And it was good for Elle to speak up against Tao trying to be somebody who isn't, because at the end of the day, Elle and Tao love each other for each other. It was extremely interesting to see Darcy's parents, or I guess to see her mom, and I hope that we get to see a little bit of it in the later seasons, especially because I think for a lot of young queer people, when you're at home, you do have to mask who you are very well. I also really loved being able to see Isaac's struggle with his sexuality, especially being in Paris, kind of like the capital of love, and being with all of his friends who are in relationships with each other, and him not being able to like really understand or feel what it means to like somebody. I think that there was probably an expectations of everybody in the group is going to be dating everybody in the group and it's going to be perfect, and you know, him being with James would have been the perfect new addition to the group, the perfect new relationship to the group. But I'm glad that we didn't really get that. I think that Isaac is somebody who is better on his own, and his friends constantly bringing up love and romance would have honestly gotten on my nerves too. I can't lie. But truthfully, I love this season. I would watch it again, and I'm excited to see what season 3 has to offer, especially when it comes to Charlie and struggling with his eating disorder and how it will impact his relationship. Because as we've seen with Isaac, sometimes love, you know, does not heal all. And especially with them being so young, I'm interested to see how the relationships continue. And we have Elle going off to a new school. We're gonna see what happens in season 3, but thank you so much for watching this video of Muji Watches. If you want to check out the first season of Heartstopper video, I'll have that linked in the description, as well as the third one when it comes out. Please make sure to check out all of my social media, which will be linked in the description below. I probably will change up how I do these videos in some time, but for right now, you guys are just getting the raw ground workings. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe. I don't know what else to say. Thanks so much for watching. Bye. I love you.